Welcome, nerds, to the gaming and tech news for the week. This is a clip that has been taken out of the main show, The Week in Nerddom, which goes up on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. In gaming and tech, we like to talk about, well, you know, gaming and tech, trailers, announcements for new tech and games and consoles and everything in between that is gaming and or tech related. So this week in gaming and tech, all of this stuff happened. Gaming and tech is where we're going next. Also, I mean, music was huge. Gaming and tech also rather large. We've got some Mortal Kombat updates to talk about. Not rumors. We do have rumors that we will be going over in the rumor mill, but right now we are talking updates. We are talking Metal Gear updates with the Metal Gear Delta situation. There's been a number of other announcements in that camp, as well as a pretty big thing for you Bethesda fans out there. So yeah, stick around to the end of the regular ass news section. Until then though, let's talk about follow-ups and corrections. And our first follow-up is the Mortal Kombat 1 situation. We know that there is going to be a beta in August. We know that the only way to get beta access is to pre-order the game. Pre-order any version of the game. There are 3 different versions. There is the regular version, the premium version, and the collector's edition. Collector's is mine, and then whatever else, you know, all you have to do is pre-order and you get into the beta. Well, much like they did with Mortal Kombat 11, there is going to be a stress test beta that happens before the actual beta in August. No date has been given just yet, aside from the fact that they are making it known on the website that there will be a stress test. I don't believe there was any other details as to how. Oh no, I take that back. If you have a Warner Brothers account, there is a link in the description. You can follow that link in the description and go register your account with that game specifically, and that is how you pre-register to potentially get into be part of the stress test. Stress test is similar to a beta, only it's much more limited, especially, again, going off of the how they ran the Mortal Kombat 11 launch. There will be a severely limited number of characters to choose from as far as the fighting goes. Usually runs over the course of a weekend, so it's going to be difficult with the day job. But all they're doing is testing servers, testing the durability of the servers. If there's any bugs that they need to work out before they roll into the beta, presumably it will be about a month to 2 months before the beta happens in August. So it kind of gives us a rough time frame. That being said, that's what we got for Mortal Kombat. Let's move next to Diablo 4. This is kind of, this is the thing that I wish a lot more video games would take into consideration. And I'll elaborate on that after we get through the piece. The piece is that the first 1,000 players of Diablo 4, now that it has launched, the first 1,000 players that reach hardcore level 100 before, what's the date? Before June 6th. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Before June 6th, they will become part of the game lore, effectively. You will get your name emblazoned on a statue, one statue for all 1,000 names. That is a statue of Lilith. Very little is known about the dimensions or the details of the statue, but we do know it's going to be a statue of Lilith, who is the game's antagonist. And yeah, if you reach level 100, you will be part of that statue. Presumably, if there are not 1,000 players that have reached level 100 by June 6th, then they're just going to take anyone who has made that achievement, because it sounds like that's going to be very difficult. Also, has been getting incredible reviews, so should be a fun one to attempt, though that is definitely not up my alley. That being said, let's move right along. Let's go over next to Microsoft. In a very unsurprising move, Microsoft has launched their appeal against the decision from the UK advisory board to block their Activision acquisition. Yeah, we saw this one coming. It was kind of announced that they were planning to do this. They have officially done this. So let's see what happens, shall we? From that, let's talk The Last of Us. I think this could be just rumor, it could be a faked photo, could be something. But I'm flying off script real quick. I'm pretty sure I saw a beta test of The Last of Us on Xbox. Somebody get to the internet and let's have the conversation as to whether or not that was a fake image or not. And then we'll probably talk about it in the shout out show next week. But yeah, very interesting there. Anyway, Last of Us. We have the Sony State of Play event happened last week, shortly after last week's episode was recorded, and probably during the time that I was editing and uploading. But it happened, and there was a very big noticeable issue with that, and that was that the multiplayer element of the Last of Us game was absent, even though they've been talking about it for some time. The Naughty Dog claims that it is still being worked on. They just need a little bit more time to put some polish on it before they can make any sort of announcements as to time frame for rollout and so on and so forth. So it seems that the issues are coming with the factions mode. Not entirely sure what that means, but as we get closer to the proper announcement, they'll let us know, and then I'll inform you in case you are unaware. So yeah, that is what we have for follow-ups and corrections. Let's talk about trailers. We got a whole boatload of trailers this past week. We got some Xbox trailers too, but primarily what we're talking about right now is the Sony State of Play trailers. There was only one, count them, one exclusive announced for the Sony State of Play, and that one exclusive is Spider-Man 2. It's super exciting. Link in the description if you haven't seen it yet. This looks great. I wish this was the Spider-Man 3 movie from Sam Raimi. Like, I wish that this is the direction that it went back then, because that would have been a much more entertaining version of the black suit Spider-Man than what we got. And yeah, this looks great. This looks so good. Other noteworthy trailers from the weekend: Metal Gear 3 remake, being now dubbed Metal Gear Delta. Konami has come out and made a statement as to why they went with Delta instead of Metal Gear 3 remake. Delta, according to them, is a signifier of change. It is not only the third letter of the Greek alphabet, but also a signifier of change, and it sounds very military, and the signal just looks really cool, so I'm sure that played a bit of a factor. But yeah, Metal Gear Delta just looks incredible. This, though, is not going to be a one-for-one recreation of the game. This is going to be an interpretation of the game. They have said that they are going to keep the storyline intact, but there's going to be a lot of differences from the original game to what we're getting in this. Though it's not a PlayStation exclusive, it is going to be coming to Xbox Series consoles. Super excited about that. We have more Metal Gear outside of the trailers section, so we'll get to that in a minute. But while we're still here, the other huge and very, very noteworthy trailer that we got from the Sony State of Play is Marathon. So Bungie is a subsidiary now of Sony, but Marathon is still coming out to on the Xbox consoles. They decided to launch the trailer for their new game at the Sony State of Play. It looks pretty awesome. It is an extraction shooter, so that's pretty cool. This is the game. This is the title of the game that Bungie had released before Halo, even. So this is kind of inspired by where things were in the gaming 90s, and then that's where Halo came out of, and so now this is a reflection of that through the modern lens, and it just looks really cool, and the artwork is always great. Bungie always knocks it out of the park with stuff like that. Very excited about this. It's a very short trailer, and I don't believe there is any actual in-game footage there, but still exciting. Let's move from trailers. Let's get into regular ass news. Continuing though with the Sony State of Play event, we got Project Q. This is a thing that nobody wanted. The new PlayStation Handheld is a way of playing your PlayStation 5 games through remote play on a Wi-Fi network. Does anybody want this? Is that what the community was demanding, was a remote play device? Like, this isn't even, you have to be on, from what we understand, at least at this point, you have to be on the same Wi-Fi network as your PS5. So this is for people who just like walking through their house all the time. Like, this makes no sense at all. Why is this where they went with that? Unless there is something built into the handheld so that in a future update, it will then be, you'll then be able to play it through any Wi-Fi network or any mobile network or so on and so forth and what have you. So just a very strange, very possibly too early announcement from the geniuses over at Sony. But from there, let's talk a little bit about Nintendo suing everybody. Well, not everybody, but kind of. So Nintendo is not getting along with Steam. Steam made the announcement, and I believe we talked about it on the channel, but we very possibly didn't, because it was a fairly minor announcement unless you're in the modding or vintage gaming community, which is relatively small when talking about gaming as a whole. But so Dolphin was set to be released on Steam. Dolphin, for those that don't know, is the engine that they use to play or to play ROMs for the not the Dreamcast. Dreamcast, for the GameCube and the Switch, or the Wii, and I believe even the Wii U. There's Dolphin is effective for games on that platform as well. So you can play them effectively on your PC. There are ways to currently get Dolphin, but they were working on a build of the mod engine, I want to call it. They were working on a build of the engine for Steam so that it could get mass production release effectively to the world at large. And then they received a cease and desist. It went, I believe they sent it to Steam, but they also sent to the developers of Dolphin. They sent them cease and desist as well. So Nintendo is effectively stopping the production of this in this fashion. Because again, you can go get Dolphin on your own. You kind of have to go, it takes a bit of doing, let's say, but it's still doable. So it seems that, and there's the Linus Tech Tips, they did their Tech Quickie, or the Tech News rather, and they got into much better detail than I, so I'll maybe try and link to their news update down in the description. But yeah, it's a real sticky situation, and in the end, they're saying that doing this stifles creativity. If they were to allow Dolphin to be released on Steam, it would somehow stifle creativity. It's a strange situation, and Nintendo is turning very quickly into Monster in some ways, but not quite as egregious. So there's that. And then from there, the other Metal Gear thing that we have to talk about in news is, I don't believe this was announced at the State of Play event, but this was announced at approximately the same time as the State of Play announcement for Metal Gear Delta, and that is Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, Volume 1, very specifically. So Master Collection, originally with the very first announcement, and then a couple days later, so just about 2 days ago as I'm filming this, they made the announcement that it's not going to be just 3 Metal Gear games. It's actually going to be 5 Metal Gear games in the Master Collection Volume 1. Those 5 games, the original 3 that were announced with the initial announcement, were Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2, and Metal Gear Solid 3. So updated versions graphically that are just basically the same as the game you remember from forever ago. And then just a couple of days ago, they announced also there will be Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, which were MSX releases in their initial instance, and then I believe Metal Gear 2 got released stateside on the NES, but it was only called Metal Gear. And either way, the storyline is basically the same as Metal Gear Solid, so it's very it'll be really cool to see all of this for maybe new gamers to the franchise, but just great to have them all on a modern console. It will be released on all modern consoles outside of the Switch, so PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, as well as a Steam version of the Master Collection have all been announced. And the fact that this is a Volume 1 seems to imply that a Volume 2 might be somewhere down the road. So if we're looking at a volume 2, that very potentially is going to include Peace Walker, Phantom Limb, a couple of those side Gaijin games, or Gaiden, Gaiden. Some of those Gaiden games, the card game, the turn-based game specifically I'm thinking of, and there was another PSP exclusive that I can't recall the title of anymore. But yeah, presumably that would be what we would get in a volume 2, should that actually happen. Wouldn't be the first time that a volume 1 was announced and that was the only game in the series. So, but that's what we got there. Next, we're moving over to Nvidia. This time, this is very interesting, not just for PC gamers, even though it is coming from Nvidia, but for gamers as a whole, potentially. The interesting thing here is AI. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say these days because AI's been around now for a hot second and it's not new in any meaningful way anymore, except that this might be, because this is going to give developers the ability to make dynamic conversations possible with in-game NPCs. So the example that was given was a fishmonger, I believe is what he was, and you can just talk to this guy. It's a little creepy because animation, they can't preset the animations, so they have to make the face fluid, which kind of adds to the uncanny valley feeling, and it's a little creepy, but still the potential here is kind of incredible for the immersiveness of gaming going forward. Because you could legitimately have a conversation with an AI bot as an NPC in games going forward. The engine that allows them to do this, they are calling Omniverse Avatar Cloud Engine, and they're going to license it to anyone who's willing to pay them for it. So I think that's incredibly cool. This is the logical extension of where we have been very recently in AI. We talked previously about something similar it was a racing game where the announcers for the racing game were going to be AI powered, so that they could call things dynamically that were happening as they happened in game. This is taking that just a little bit further, and not only is this going to be talking about events, but this is going to be a personality embedded into this NPC, and the history and all of the things. It's really cool. I don't know. I think this is going to do so much good for the consumer side of things. As far as like the talent side of things, the voice actors and so on and so forth that would typically be involved in such a project, you can't possibly do this with a regular voice actor. I'm sure someone could think of a way to do it, but this definitely means, implies anyway, that very likely you will have to do also not just an AI for the personality of the NPC, but AI for the voice of the NPC. So just it's kind of taking writers out of the game and voice actors out of the game. So it's a little scary, I'm not gonna lie, but still, as far as like being a consumer of content, this is incredible. I'm rambling, let's move on. Our last piece of regular ass news for gaming and tech has to do with Bethesda, has to do with Fallout New Vegas. It's actually just a real quick, sorry if that clickbaited anybody, very, very quick announcement. Fallout New Vegas is free on the Epic Game Store right now. Go download it because the best Fallout of modern Fallout is free. Why would you not go get it? That is what we have for regular ass news. That brings us into our gaming and tech suggestion for the week. We've done this before with previous games that have launched that have been kind of huge in my life personally. So we're doing it again with Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. This is our gaming and tech suggestion this week. I just can't stop playing it. Honestly, part of the reason why it took me so long to get around to doing this week's episode, because I got a little distracted for about 6 hours playing Tears of the Kingdom. It's amazing. Just Nintendo has really outdone themselves with this one. Go play it if you haven't already. It's one of the best games that you're probably ever gonna play on any platform, and it's out now. So yeah, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. suggestion. Once again, this is just the gaming and tech section. It is a shortened piece of the much longer news show that I do over on youtube.com/generallynerdy, which is the main channel. There's a lot more music and comic books and movies and TV shows, etc., that can be found over there on the regular show. Thank you for joining me here, though, nerds. Before we go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.